What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and today we are going to be talking about my Banlist prediction. And before we get into it, I want to say that this is my prediction of what is actually going to happen, not necessarily what I want to happen. What I want to happen is actually very different. Maybe if you guys want, I'll make a wish list video, but I do think that the two need to be separate between a prediction and a wish list. So we're going to go ahead and jump on in, and I think it's actually going to be a pretty big list, and not for the reasons that you guys may think. So let's go ahead and jump on in. So, as always, we are going to kick things off with the banned section, and number 1 to be banned is going to be the number 89, Diablosis, the Mind Hacker. Now, if you're a fan of the channel, you know that I have been saying for a while now that Kashtira is the worst best deck that we've ever had, and to elaborate on that, it's because nothing that it does is really oppressive unless it's backing it up with this card. Diablosis, the Mind Hacker is the card that enables the full zone lock, as well as the combo that banishes 18 off of your top deck, and without it, there's nothing that Kashtira can really do that's super strong or oppressive. This card allows all of those lines to exist, and I just think that that's not fair. When you're starting your turn having no zones available for you to play in, or when you're starting your turn with half of your deck banished face down, and face down banished is more often than not completely inaccessible, there's just really nothing that you can even do to attempt to win those games, and for those reasons, I think that Mind Hacker needs to be banned. Now, for the second and last card on our list, it is going to be a card from the branded deck, and while you might think that I'm going to say Gimmick Puppet, it's actually going to be Branded Expulsion, and the reason for that is, well, I personally think that the card that needs to be banned is the Gimmick Puppet, and while we're at it, Raw's Disciple, because those are the cards that prevent you from playing the game. I think that Konami's not ready to do that yet because of Cyberstorm Access. For those of you that don't know, in Cyberstorm Access, we are getting Albion the Incandescent Dragon, which essentially has the exact same effect as Branded Expulsion. So by banishing the Branded Expulsion, they're able to push this new card in this new set, and I think that that's what's going to happen until the next list when they inevitably hit either the Gimmick Puppet, the Raw's Disciple, or both. But that's my reasoning for Branded Expulsion. Again, personally, I think it needs to be the Gimmick Puppet and Raw's Disciple, but I just don't think that they're going to do it. I think that they have too much riding on Cyberstorm Access. There's multiple new branded cards in there, so they want to be able to sell that set, and this is how you do it. Now, for the limited section, there are 3 cards that have potential to be limited to 1 from the Kashtira strategy, but I personally think that it's only going to be one of them, and that card is going to be Fenrir. Now, you can make arguments for both Birth and Unicorn. Unicorn is the 1-card combo, so you can maybe argue that more than anything else, but I think the reason it's going to be Fenrir is because Fenrir is splashable in every single deck. Even if you're not doing the 1-card Unicorn combo to get into everything, just a Fenrir is still able to get you into a decent enough board, and not just that, but again, it's splashable. You can throw it in literally every deck, and it's just an extender, it's an interruption, it helps you break boards. It's just such a strong card, and honestly, Pankratops is at 1. This is a better Pankratops. I think Fenrir is going to go to 1, but the other 2 cards, again, like I said, are both Unicorn and Birth. Both of those are equally strong in their own right, but I think that Fenrir is the one on the chopping block. Next to be limited, I am predicting that it is going to be Sprite Starter. Now, Sprite is a deck that even after the massive hit of Elf, which a lot of players thought killed the deck, it is still a force to be reckoned with, being able to set up not only Totally Awesome and the Testudo lock, but you can also do the Melfi version, which essentially is totally awesome at home, because you're going to be able to make a Herald of the Arclight, which is not only an Omni Negate, but it's also a macro on legs, and you just reborn it off of the Double Cross anyway, so it's the exact same thing. You're getting 2 Omni Negates, but the added benefit of a macro Cosmo-like effect. Yeah, you're losing out on the Testudo if you play the Melfi version, but you have other things to back it up as well, and I think that the deck is so super consistent that the only thing that you really can do to it is put the starter to 1. I don't think putting Jet to 1 matters because you search it off blue. I don't think putting blue to 1 matters because you summon it off starter. So the way to hit the consistency the most would be the starter. It still leaves the deck very playable, but it makes it not as threatening in the aspect of it's not going to have multiple 1-card combos, because right now you've got Beaver, which is a 1-card combo, you have Starter, which is a 1-card combo, and then you have multiple 2-card combos with any level 2 and pretty much any Sprite name. So I think that Starter is going to go to 1 just to kind of hit the consistency, still leave Sprite playable, but definitely not the powerhouse that it currently is. And that's actually it for the cards that I think are going to get hit to the limited list, but now we have a bunch of cards that I think are actually going to come back and that are currently banned and actually go to 1. And the first on that list is going to have to be Glow Up Bulb. Now, Glow Up Bulb I think was forgotten. They banned Hulk, so Glow Up Bulb isn't really a threat anymore. It is a once per duel effect, so I don't think that there's any reason for this card to still be banned. It's not as abusable with Hulk not in the format. Yeah, you can like 1-for-1 into it or something, but like it it really doesn't matter. Again, it's just a once per turn, or a once per duel, rather, reborn, and there are a lot more oppressive card effects in the game, so I think the Glow Bulb is safe to come back at 1. And for the next card that's coming back to 1, it's going to have to be Orcust Harp Horror. Now, this is a card that personally, yes, I really want, so maybe it's a little bit biased, but we've seen over the last couple of lists that they are slowly releasing decks from the Eternal or Toss format, so putting Harp Horror to 1 is a great way to test the waters. We here in the TCG, I don't know about the OCG, I don't really pay attention to the OCG, but here in the TCG, we've never had both Girsu and Harp legal. Back in the day, people were playing Mathematician and other ways to send the Harp Horror to the graveyard, but I think that it'd be really interesting to see both Girsu and Harp Horror in the format. I don't think that it would do anything super oppressive. Orcust is really, really good with Harp Horror, but it's not oppressive. I think it's been power crept at this point. It's a 3, almost 4-year-old deck. Actually, no, it is 4 years old because I played it at the 2019 Nationals. So it's a 4-year-old deck. We have 4 years of power creep. Let's go ahead and bring Harp Horror back to 1. Again, they've been slowly releasing the Eternal format decks, so this is probably the next one to come back. Next up, coming back to 1, we have Blaster, the Dragon Ruler of Infernos, I believe. I don't know, it's somewhere on the screen. But this is the next Dragon Ruler that is going to come back. We saw that Tempest came back a number of years ago, and it really has done absolutely nothing. For maybe 10 minutes, people were playing it in Dragon Link, but then they just stopped because it really wasn't that good. But the reason I think that Blaster is going to come back is because they just announced a ton of new fire support. We have the new Volcanics, we have the new Batlam Boxers. So what better way to support fire archetypes rather than bringing back the Blaster? Blaster is probably the second worst Dragon Ruler. All it does is destroy a card. It's not as oppressive as something like Redox or Tidal. So I think that it's fair to come back, being able to put a 2800 beater on board and discard it to pop a card like big whoop, nobody cares. Let's go ahead and bring that back, test the waters. Maybe one day we'll actually have all the Dragon Rulers legal again, but for now, Blaster should definitely come to 1. And for the last card on the limited list, again, banned card coming back to 1, that is going to be Red Reboot. Now, the reason I think it has to be Red Reboot is because there are actually 2 relevant trap decks in the format, and it's just really oppressive. Honestly, Red Reboot should have never gotten banned. Some traps are just so oppressive that you need a way to counter it other than trying to destroy it, and I think Red Reboot is the way to do it. I am personally on the bandwagon of this should have never gotten banned to begin with. I think it was fine at 1. Yeah, it was maybe a little sacky if you drew it, but I mean, we have 3 skill drain in the format. What's more sacky than 3 skill drain? So I just think that we need some kind of way to counteract both Labyrinth and Trap Tricks. Yeah, Trap Tricks isn't seeing as much play or success, but I still think it's actually the better trap deck. That doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. Red Reboot is a necessity to combat these types of strategies, so I think that it will come back to 1. Next, we are on to the semi-limited list, and I am one of the people that believe that the semi-limited list is almost useless. There are only a handful of cards that really belong there. Personally, the only one that I can really think of off the top of my head is Malicious. Shout out to you, D-Time. But cards like Malicious belong to be on the semi-limited list because being able to just abuse it, actually that'd be another card, but we'll get in that. Being able to abuse it for multiple summons just doesn't seem fair, so maybe a card like Zodiac Rapier as well, but that's not my prediction. That's just me kind of going off on a tangent about the semi-limited list. I think there are going to be 2 cards that are going to be brought to the semi-limited list, the first of which is going to be Sekka's Light. And the reason I think it's going to be Sekka's Light is because we have Super Heavy Samurai right around the corner, which every build that I've seen is literally playing 40 monsters. So what better deck to abuse Sekka's Light than something like Super Heavy Samurai? Back in the day when Super Heavy Samurai wasn't even that good, people were trying it with Sekka's Light. I remember the days where you were playing 40 card Thunder Dragon with 37 monsters and 3 Sekka's Light, and honestly, that was one of the most fun formats that I've played in Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't think Sekka's Light is really oppressive. There are cards that do way more than draw 2, so let's go ahead and bring Sekka's Light back to 2. Honestly, it can probably go to 3, but putting it to semi-limited will at least test the waters and show Konami that it's no longer a problem. And for the second card that I see coming back to 2, again, could probably go to 3, and I don't think it would make any difference as far as the format's concerned, but that's going to be Dragonic Diagram. They've been slowly releasing the True Draco cards as well. We saw a couple of lists ago that we got the Dynamite back to 3 as well, and it hasn't done anything. It hasn't shaken the waters. It's done absolutely nothing. I don't remember the last time I've seen somebody play a True Draco card on me, so let's go ahead, put Diagram to 2, test the waters. Again, it can probably come back to 3 and nobody would even care, but again, that just seems to be Konami's pattern, is they put something to 2, test the waters, bring it back to 3, and yeah, so that's it for the semi-limits. Now, to kick things off with the unlimited, we have Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires has been at 2 for a while now. It was originally at 1. They brought it back to 2. doesn't really do too much. I don't think putting a third in will really change the game in any form of impactful way. So let's go ahead and bring it back to 3. I personally will never play 3 anyway. I've always been on the train that 2 desires is the correct number, because if you play 3, your chance of drawing into a desires off desires is just much higher, and that is the worst feeling in the world. So let's go ahead and put it to 3. I will die on the hill that 2 is the correct number anyway, so it can come back to 3 and not make a difference at all. Next up, we have another card that was forgotten about with the banning of Hulk, and that is going to be Red Rose Dragon. Without Hulk in the format, I see no reason why Red Rose Dragon should still be at 1. Let's go ahead, skip the semi-limited, just bring it back to 3. Nobody's going to care. The 5 Black Rose players in the world will probably be ecstatic. Go ahead and make them happy. I don't think that this card is really oppressive. Yeah, you're going to be seeing it in maybe some other decks, but without Hulk to abuse it, it realistically doesn't matter. So let's just go ahead and bring it back. Now, for this next one, I'm actually surprised that it's still on the list at all. I thought that this would come back a while ago, and that is going to be Salamangrate Gazelle. Salamangrate's doing literally nothing. I think maybe I saw one deck top with it recently, and it was an adventure version, but like, who really cares? They brought back Circle, they've brought back everything else that the deck had hit, Mirage Stalio, whatever. Let's go ahead and bring Gazelle back to 3. I don't think that it is really impactful anymore. Again, that deck came out when? In 2019? It's a 4-year-old deck. It's been power crept. It doesn't matter what you give them. They're not gonna do anything. Let's go ahead and bring Gazelle back to 3. And for the last and final card on the unlimited list and the prediction video as a whole, we have the Lyrilusc Recital Starling. This went back to 2, and didn't really do anything. Again, people thought that maybe Bird Up would come back and, Lyrilusc Tri-Brigade would be a force to be reckoned with, but I haven't seen that deck in a year and a half. Whenever this thing went to 1, it doesn't matter. It was brought back to 2, did literally nothing. That seems to be the trend. Does nothing at 2, bring it to 3, done and dusted. There's no need to have this card banned. Yeah, you can go ahead and search, but whatever. Who really cares? I don't think that it's important. If it's at 3, maybe we'll actually see some more diversity. Maybe you can play Bird Up again. Maybe you can throw it into some other Winged Beast shenanigans. I just think that it's a card that, while it's really good, isn't good enough to continue being on the list, at least not in the format. Again, it's been vastly power crept. Let's go ahead and bring that back as well. And that's going to be it for my ban list prediction. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is there any cards I missed, anything that you agree with or disagree with? Obviously be polite about it, but go ahead. I want some interaction in the comments. Tell me what you guys thought. If you liked it, you know the deal. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends. Maybe consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, and I almost forgot. Free the sea.